Hello YouTube, Al here, and this week I want to talk about upgrading strats. So this is not going to be a video on what strat pickups are best. This is not going to be a video on what parts are best. This is going to be a video on you've got a cheap strat, probably your starter strat, a Squire or random import strat. Maybe you've had it a couple of years and you want to upgrade it and you want to get some different sounds out of it or just make it sound better. So this video is for those people who have absolutely no idea what they're doing, and it's going to be just sort of a primer so you get your bearings a bit. So let's dive into it. So today I'm going to be looking at this. I'm not going to be upgrading it, just talking about what you can do. This is a play-on Strat. Yeah, I've never heard of them either. It was made in made for Toys R Us in Korea, was it? China, there you go, the old People's Republic. So this is a very bog standard import Strat. You see these style tuners. These are actually replacement tuners that drop right in, but they're the same style. Yours might be the little round ones with a single 45-degree angle little screw. They're a little bit nicer than the bullety style ones in my opinion. You've got the 3 pickups. You've got a 5-way switch, you've got a volume, a tone for the, I believe that one's the middle one, no, neck one, and that one's the middle one. So it's pretty bog standard. See the tremolo there, I've replaced the saddles on this, ignore that. And you can see the tiny block in the back. So, the easiest thing to, well, let's get this out of the way first. It needs to be set up so it plays nice. It might need new tuners if the stock ones are crap. You might need to make sure the nut is cut properly. We're going to glaze all over that because I want to talk about the electronics, which, let's be honest, is the exciting part, and that's the part we all want to talk about. So there are 2 different types of pickup, just to make it abundantly clear for those who don't know. Let's see, got some here. So this is a single coil pickup here. It is 1 coil of wire, so you can see there'll be coils wound around this bobbin. You can see the slugs there. And this one's a ceramic pickup. It's got a ceramic magnet on the bottom. I've written an N on because it's the neck pickup. But that's a single coil pickup, as opposed to a humbucker, which is 2 coils. One is going one direction, one's going the other. And basically with this, you can get single coil hum, as we call it. That just picks up from like stray lights and bad wiring. Yeah, you'll pick up some RF interference. In fact, in the UK it's 50 Hz hum because 60 Hz is in the US, but it doesn't matter. On a humbucker, because you've got one coil going that way and the other one going that way, it cancels out the hum. That also leads to a different tone. It's a higher output pickup because you've got 2 coils working, not 1. Depending on how it's wound, obviously it's going to sound different, blah, 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 blah. A single coil can't really sound like a humbucker. A humbucker can't really sound like a single coil. You can coil split a humbucker, which means effectively you turn off one of the coils and just use the other one. And yes, it does sound like a single coil, but it sounds like a weedier version because it's lower wind. Those are the bare basics of pickups. So you can fit humbuckers into your Strat if it will fit on your pick guard. The pick guard you most likely have on your Strat, unless it's humbucker 2 singles, is a triple single one, SSS. You can cut out the route if you want to add a humbucker. I'll be honest, it's a hell of a lot easier just to buy a pick guard that's routed for humbuckers, because that way you can always put the old guard back in if you want, and it saves you a lot of time and effort, and you know, you can always sell the old pick guard or whatever. You can also buy loaded pick guards from companies. I don't know if Warman still do them. I think they used to. Seymour Duncan do them, but we're getting into big boy money there. We'll get onto brands and that later. But yeah, the easiest way of you doing it yourself is probably to stick with the triple single guard, which will already be on the guitar. This is a humbucker that fits into a single coil route. This is a Warman one. It's a Maelstrom. I haven't actually installed it yet, but there you go. So it's the same as the humbucker, but smaller. Let me take this off. So you can see you've got 2 coils. This one's got a copper shielding around the outside actually, but you can see the wines on the coil. This one's been dipped in wax as well. Most of them are, because that stops the coil moving, and that's how you get microphonic feedback, which isn't really what you want. There you go, you can see all the poles. So you've got to think about the size of the route on your guitar. That'll be underneath the pick guard. You probably won't know until you take the pick guard off, which you can do when you're changing strings, you know, just have a look. It might be pull routed, so you can fit humbuckers or single coils in here without a problem. It might just be routed for 3 singles, where if you wanted to put a humbucker in, it would take a bit of work to chisel away the wood inside. Again, it's not a massive deal. It doesn't have to be massively neat, because it's all going to be hidden anyway. And this is your cheap guitar. This is your probably £30–40 Squire Bullet that you got off a mate 10 years ago, and you've since moved on to greater things. So you really want to think about what pickups you want to use. Yeah, humbuckers will require... now here's a point. So most import guitars come with very cheap parts like this. They are serviceable. They're not going to die on you in 10 seconds. Maybe in 5 years, maybe in 2 years, depending on how much you play. They might get worn out, but they are serviceable. They work. So we're not gonna... You don't need to bother replacing them. It's not something that you need to do when you're changing your pickups. It's a decent idea, things to be aware of. So these mini pots are very, very small, very, very cheap. And because they're cheap, the tolerances on these they're not quite as tight as the tolerances on, say, CTS or Bournes or a brand like that, which manufacture for loads of different brands and are used in like PRS SEs, Epiphones, Squire, probably Schecter, Ibanez, you know, any brand under the sun really. So up to a certain price point, they'll be using the mini potentiometers, and then about mid-level they'll go to a full-size potentiometer. And then after that you can get the CTS ones, which have a slightly larger bore on the hole. So there's no real need to upgrade these parts if they work. They're not amazing, but it really doesn't matter. You're not going to notice any difference. You won't notice any difference, and I don't think it's really worth the hassle of desoldering all this stuff with its tiny, tiny thin wires. It's very fiddly. My advice is really leave it as much be as you can, because you just want to get playing your guitar, don't you? So, the next point about potentiometers, because of the small bore, these will fit on your import pick guard. These will fit through these holes. The CTS ones, you'd need to bore the holes a little bit bigger. Bear in mind that once you've bored the holes bigger, you wouldn't be able to put these back because they'd move around. So, think before you upgrade the electronics, basically. And again, it's not necessary. It's not a must do. The switch will fit in the route fine. If you want to upgrade the switch to a nicer one, that again will fit perfectly fine. Now, if you look, is it focusing? Yeah. So if you can look, if you can see there, it says on the pot the value and either A or B. A or B means the taper. A is audio taper, which is kind of smooth along the whole way. B is linear taper, where it does a hell of a lot more towards the end than it does all the way up, basically. Sort of that sort of thing, rather than a straight increase. Now, the value is, what's this one? This one is 504, so it's going to be a 500k pot, or thereabouts, again, because of the tolerances. That means that this means that it's going to be brighter and let more treble through than a 250k pot, which is here. So for single coil pickups, they're quite bright pickups, so people tend to use 250k pots on them. That's because it doesn't make it too bright, too ice picky, and that's just the way people tend to do things. I have noticed that on, I think, every cheap Strat copy I've ever had or touched or have known of and had open, every single one has had 500k pots. So if you wanted, you could just buy some pots and just replace like for like and put 250s in, and then you might like your pickups better. You might like the stock pickups and go, yeah, these are perfectly fine. However, I'm guessing that your guitar has 500k pots, by the way, because most import Strats do. If you wanted to upgrade to humbuckers, well, you're away. You know, you can go for it straight away because this is the right value. It's the most commonly used value with humbuckers. So there's no reason why you couldn't just have a Strat that's got all these cheap gubbins in it. It's got 500k pots, and you can buy one of these mini humbuckers, and you can wire it into the bridge, because this is a bridge one, but you know, you can wire it into your guitar, and you won't need to change anything else out, and all the values should line up. So it won't take that much work. You can leave all the wiring as is. This is a 4-wire pickup, so you can coil split it and turn one of the coils off. But let's say these 2 wires are those. You just solder them together and then take them off, and then you'd wire it up with these wires as you normally would. And then you can leave everything else here as it was before. Just replace like for like effectively. 2 wires taped off, the other wires replace like for like with the old pickup. Now one thing I should mention is if you're putting a humbucker or mini humbucker in with single coils, there will be a difference in volume. The humbucker will be louder than the single coils. So the difference in volume is something you've got to take into account. You might like that. Again, it's not a massive difference, but it is noticeable. At least to me. Again, it depends on your pickups. You might have a weak stock humbucker and weak single coils, but they'll still be mismatched. But you might put stronger single coils in, and it matches the humbucker a bit more. Most people tend to just replace the bridge pickup, which will be the humbucker. More power to them. But again, just make sure that you're either happy with the change in volume, it doesn't bother you, or yeah, if it does bother you, just be aware that you might have to change the pickups too. And adjusting the height of the pickup under the string will affect how loud the pickup is and also the tone. So it's all trade-offs, but this is all stuff you can do pretty much at home. If you're handy with a soldering iron, this is stuff you can do at home. Think of it as paint by numbers with a hot stick. So, because a Strat is everything wired to a pick guard, it really is the easiest, almost like a piece of Lego guitar to upgrade. Because you can just mount the parts on the pick guard and wire it all up outside the guitar before you've even got the strings off, if you've bought an external guard, you know. And then when it's all pretty much wired up, you just got to take the guitar off, take the strings off the guitar, take the pick guard off. There'll be 2 wires from the jack. Take a photo of where they are on your phone, desolder them. There'll be 1 ground wire that will probably go to the back of the volume pot, but that will be going to the trem claw, the other end. Just desolder that and solder it to this, screw it in, and then off you go. So the Strat really is, if you want to start modding guitars, or you just got a cheap Strat and you want to put a weird pickup in, put a blade pickup in or something. It's something you can do at home. I think it is something that's accessible if you want to get into modding guitars, or again just want to spruce up an old starter guitar. It's a good place to start. So let's talk about brands. I'm not really going to get into what my favourite brands are as such. I'm not endorsed by any brands, but I've done a fair few pickup swaps on my channel, so you'll be able to see those. But what I will say about pickups is the stock pickups you get are very weak. Let me grab one. So these don't have many winds on at all, and it's going to be very low quality wire. I mean, it's going to be conductive, just so much that it works, and that's as much as you're going to get out of it. They're going to be a little bit noisy. That's what the stock pickups are going to be like in most Strats, most really budget Strats. I'm talking about 100 quid new, maybe 200 quid new tops, that sort of region. Once you get to about 250, I think you expect kind of better pickups, to be honest. But these pickups will be weak, so again, if you're replacing this, even with a mini humbucker, you'll get the same problem. This is a humbucker, but smaller, so you're still going to have a problem with a mismatched volume. Again, might bother you, it might not. You could replace all 3 pickups in your Strat with mini humbuckers. This experiment, go mad. It's easy to do. What a lot of people do is have an HSH setup, so that's a humbucker in the bridge, a single coil in the neck. You can just leave the stock one from your old set of pickups in here, because that one's reverse wound. So when you've got the bridge and the middle together, or the middle and the neck together, it cancels out the hum, like a humbucker. It might be an idea just to leave the stock single coil in there and just upgrade the bridge to a humbucker and possibly the neck to a humbucker. Again, that's called an HSH pickup, because humbucker, single coil, humbucker. Or you could just do humbucker, single, single, HSS. Lots of different ways of doing it. Just have a look online. There are loads of different videos of how people have done it, but that'll get you started. One thing I will touch on is a coil split. So again, we've got the mini humbucker here, and it's 4 wires, so you can turn one of the coils off. Now, this can be done through a push-pull potentiometer. So instead of the normal potentiometer, it looks like this, but it's got like a box on the bottom, and you can pull up the little knob, and then that forms different connections, and that'll be where it splits the coil, or down where it won't split the coil. My advice is, if you're going to do a coil split, do it that way. Don't do it with mini switches, because you'd have to drill holes in your pick guard in order to fit the extra mini switch, and it makes a lot more sense just to have it hidden under a push-pull, because it looks nice, it looks cleaner, so, and it's going to be a lot less work to wire up. But again, the thin, flimsy wires they use and the little potentiometers can be quite annoying to work with. So thank God that everything's on this lovely, lovely pick guard that you can just wire up outside the guitar, where you've got plenty of space to do your soldering. So there are a lot of brands out there that do half-decent pickups for a half-decent price, and many that do really good pickups for a fantastic price. So I'm going to mention Warman guitars, because I've had a few of their pickups and I really quite like them. Some of them I've liked more than others. I've had some ceramic pickups, ceramic zebra pickups that I really, really like. I've got the old spec ones, the pre-2016 ones. I'm not sure what they're like now, but I really like those pickups. I've got a Warman Mirrorman humbucker, that's really nice. I've tried the single coils, they weren't for me at the time. Personally, I'm more of an Alnico magnet guy for single coils more than ceramic. That's just personal preference. But Warman do decent pickups. Iron Gear do very good pickups. Tone Rider, I've heard very, very good things about. Have a look online, see what people are saying, because you might find a bargain out there on some second-hand pickups. You could even look at pickups out of, say, a Squier, say Squier Classic Vibe or Squier VM, the vintage modifieds, something around there, or maybe even Fender Mexican pickups, something like that. Something probably run you in the region of about maybe 30 quid for a set. Also, these are some pickups I got, I haven't wired them up yet, from eBay. These are, I believe they're 50s Alnico Classic, or they're called something like that, pickups. They're 30 quid a set. You can see they're on Alnico because you can see the bobbins and you can see the slugs there, so the magnet is inside, as opposed to a ceramic pickup where the magnet is stuck to the bottom. At least on single coils. On your cheap ones you'll find in there. These are the big CTS pots. These are 250. Yes, they are, because that's what I do with single coils. That's what most people do with single coils. So you can see how big the CTS one is compared to the little mini pot. They both do the same job. Both do the same. These will last a hell of a lot longer, but again, it's up to you whether you want to upgrade or not. You don't need to. If you just want your guitar up and running, you can keep your single coil pickups. You can just buy one of these. This was about 21 quid. I've got a Peacemaker as well for the neck, which is a rail humbucker, and that was about 17 quid. Really can't knock the price. You can also see the upgraded switch, which looks very different from the import style where it's all in a line. Again, you don't need to upgrade all this stuff. Actually, you can see a little hole there where someone's had a mini switch, and I don't do mini switches, so I've taken it out and I've put a shielding plate on there just to hide the hole, really. So I just thought I'd give you a little primer on where to start with upgrading your cheap Strat, because it is very difficult to know where to start. If you look on forums, you get bombarded with information, everyone going, this pickup's great, that pickup's great, oh yeah, DiMarzio, oh Seymour Duncan, oh yeah, the coil split, oh the parallel wiring. Just don't overthink it. You don't need to do everything at once. You can upgrade bit by bit. And remember, these things were made, well, they were designed by Leo Fender to be a cheap guitar, and that's what he made. It's a bolt-on neck. It's all sort of screwed together. So why the hell not have fun with it? It's not a Fender. This is never going to be a Fender. So why wouldn't I try and make it something else? So there's a quick primer on upgrading your cheap Strat. Maybe you've got a Squire in the closet that's been there for 10 years and you need to give it a bit of a spruce up. Maybe you've been given one by a friend. Maybe you've seen one in a charity shop. I got this one for 15 quid in a charity shop. Still need to set up, I'll be honest. But, I mean, these things are produced in their millions. It doesn't matter what name's on the headstock or what shape it is. They're pretty much all the damn same. So hopefully that's put things in a bit more context for you. So when you watch things like Seymour Duncan videos on their humbuckers, or you see people who have modded their Strats and put little mini humbuckers in, it gives you a little bit more context as to why maybe it sounds the way it does. So thank you very much for watching. My name's Al. Like, subscribe, all that nonsense, and I'll see you next week. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye!